Captain Jake Murphy stood on the bridge of the massive patrol ship Sovereign's Pride. He had been flying through space for the Empire for 15 years now. The ship was huge, with guns that could destroy a small moon. Jake was proud to serve the Galactic Empire, even though humans were still new members. Most aliens still thought humans were weak and stupid. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of computers. Jake looked out at the stars through the big window. Space was beautiful out here near the edge of Empire territory. His crew worked at their stations, checking sensors and watching for trouble. "Captain," Lieutenant Amy Collins called from her seat. She was the ship's communication officer. Her voice sounded worried. "I'm picking up something strange." Jake walked over to her station. Amy had short brown hair and always did her job well. She pointed at her screen with a frown on her face. "There's a ship coming toward the Kepler 442 system," she said. "But it's not showing any Empire codes. The computer says it's unregistered." Jake felt his stomach tighten. The Kepler 442 system was restricted. No ships were allowed there without special permission from the Empire. The area had dangerous space storms and was off limits to everyone. "Can you tell what kind of ship it is?" Jake asked. Amy typed on her keyboard and shook her head. "The shape looks human, but the design is old. Really old, like nothing I've seen before." Jake walked back to his captain's chair. This was not good news. An unknown human ship in restricted space could mean pirates or worse. He had to follow Empire rules and stop them. "Open a channel," he ordered. "Use standard Empire frequency." Amy nodded and pressed some buttons. "Channel open, sir." Jake cleared his throat. "Unknown vessel, this is Captain Jake Murphy of the Empire patrol ship Sovereign's Pride. You are entering restricted space without permission. State your name and purpose immediately." For a long moment there was only silence. Then, the speakers crackled to life. A man's voice came through, calm and steady. "Sovereign's Pride, this is Captain Ben Carter of the Earth Colonial Defense Force vessel Liberty Bell. We mean no harm to anyone." Jake blinked in surprise. Earth Colonial Defense Force? He had never heard of such a thing. Amy looked confused too. She checked her computer files quickly. "Captain," Amy whispered, "there's no record of any Earth Colonial Defense Force. The Empire says Earth never had space military before first contact." Jake felt more worried now. Either this Captain Carter was lying, or something was very wrong with the Empire's records. "Captain Carter," Jake said into the microphone, "I have no information about your organization. Please send your Empire registration codes and prepare to be boarded for inspection." There was another pause. When Carter spoke again, his voice was still calm but firm. "I'm sorry, Captain Murphy, but we don't recognize Empire authority over human vessels. We operate under old Earth protocols." Jake's hands gripped his chair arms tighter. This was getting dangerous fast. No one refused Empire orders. The aliens who ran the Empire did not like being told no. "Captain Carter, you are in violation of Empire law. Surrender your ship immediately, or we will use force." The response came faster this time. "Captain, I suggest you check your history files more carefully. The Earth Colonial Defense Force has been protecting human interests in space for over 80 years. We were here long before your Empire showed up." Amy was typing frantically at her station. She looked up at Jake with wide eyes. "Captain, I'm finding some very old files buried deep in the archives. They mention colony ships leaving Earth decades ago, but the files are marked as classified." Before Jake could respond, another voice came over the radio. This one was cold and harsh. "It belonged to Admiral Kara Stone, a Xantorian alien with crystal-like skin who commanded this sector of space. Human vessel Liberty Bell, this is Admiral Stone of the Galactic Empire. You will shut down your engines and prepare to be destroyed if you do not surrender in the next 60 seconds. Jake winced. Admiral Stone was known for shooting first and asking questions later. She did not like humans much and would be happy to blow up Carter's ship. Captain Carter's voice came back, still calm. "Admiral Stone, I suggest you reconsider. We have no wish to fight, but we will defend ourselves if attacked." Admiral Stone laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "You dare threaten the Empire with one small ship? Prepare to die, human." Jake watched. His weapons officer, Lieutenant Pete Johnson, get ready to fire. Pete was a good man, but he followed orders without question. Jake wondered if there was another way to handle this. All ships, target the human vessel, Admiral Stone commanded, over the fleet channel. Fire on my mark. But before anyone could shoot, something impossible happened. Every weapon system on every Empire ship suddenly went dead. Warning lights flashed red all over the bridge. Amy's screen showed system failures everywhere. "What happened?" Jake shouted. His chief engineer, Tony Rivera, ran diagnostics on his computer. "Sir, all our weapons are offline. Not damaged, just turned off. Like someone flipped a switch." Captain Carter's voice came over the radio again. "Admiral Stone, we have disabled your weapons as a precaution. No one has been hurt, and we can restore your systems when you agree to talk peacefully." Jake stared at his crew in shock. How had one unknown ship disabled an entire Empire fleet without firing a shot? This was technology beyond anything the Empire had. Admiral Stone's voice was shaking with rage. "How did you do this? What kind of weapons are you using?" "We're not using weapons, Admiral," Carter replied. "We're using technology you don't understand yet. Please, let's discuss this like civilized people." Jake felt his world turning upside down. Everything he thought he knew about humans and the Empire was wrong. If this Captain Carter was telling the truth, then humans had been in space much longer than anyone knew. But why keep it secret? Carter's voice came over the radio one more time, but this time it was broadcast on all frequencies. Every ship, every station, every planet in the area would hear it. "Attention, all vessels and stations. This is Captain Ben Carter of the Earth Colonial Defense Force. We have been watching from the shadows for 50 years while our people lived under alien rule. We remained hidden to protect our colonies and our freedom. But now the time for hiding is over. This message goes out to all humans in Empire space and beyond. We are coming home. The Earth Colonial Defense Force is returning to reclaim what is ours." Jake sat in his captain's chair, his mind spinning with questions. Who was this Captain Carter really? How many human colonies were out there? And what would happen when the Empire learned that humanity had been lying to them for 50 years? As he watched the mysterious ship Liberty Bell disappear into hyperspace, Jake knew that everything was about to change. The galaxy would never be the same again. The news about the Liberty Bell spread across the galaxy like fire. Within hours, every Empire world knew about Captain Carter's message. On the capital planet of Centauri Prime, emergency meetings were happening in the tall crystal towers where the Empire leaders worked. Counselor Lisa Martinez sat in a cold metal chair in the center of the Empire Council chamber. She was the only human on the council, and right now all eyes were on her. The alien counselors stared at her with suspicion and anger. Their strange faces showed they did not trust her anymore. "Counselor Martinez," said High Chancellor Vex, a tall gray alien with 4 arms. "Explain this Earth Colonial Defense Force. Why did humans lie to us about your history?" Lisa felt sweat on her forehead. She had served on the council for 10 years and always told the truth. But now even she was confused about what was real. "High Chancellor, I know nothing about this organization," she said. "When the Empire found Earth 50 years ago, we were just learning to fly in space. We had no colonies, no big ships, no advanced weapons." Another counselor, a blue-skinned Altarian named Zeph, spoke up. "Then how do you explain what we saw? One human ship defeated our entire fleet without firing a shot." Lisa shook her head. "I don't know. Maybe Captain Carter was lying. Maybe he found old alien technology somewhere." But even as she said it, Lisa did not believe her own words. Something deep inside told her that Carter had been telling the truth. There were too many pieces that did not fit together. Meanwhile, on the Sovereign's Pride, Captain Jake Murphy could not sleep. He walked through the quiet halls of his ship, thinking about what had happened. His crew was confused and scared. They had always believed the Empire was the strongest force in the galaxy. Jake found his ship's historian, Dr. Tony Rivera, working late in the computer room. Tony was surrounded by old files and data screens. His eyes were red from staring at information all night. "Find anything interesting, Tony?" Jake asked. Tony looked up and rubbed his tired eyes. Captain, something is very wrong with our history. Records. I've been digging through the oldest files and there are gaps everywhere. Jake sat down next to him. What kind of gaps? Look at this. Tony pointed to his screen. These are the official Empire records of first contact with Earth. They say humans had just invented basic rocket ships. But here, in this old maintenance file, there's a note about tracking outbound human vessels from the same time period. Jake leaned closer to read the screen. The file was marked with high security codes he had never seen before. And here, Tony continued, I found shipping records that mention human colony supplies being moved through Empire space. But according to official records, humans had no colonies back then. Jake felt his heart beating faster. Are you saying the Empire knew humans had colonies and hid it from everyone? I'm saying someone has been hiding the truth, Tony said. Either the Empire lied to us, or humans lied to the Empire. Maybe both. While they talked, far away in space, the Liberty, Bell was not alone anymore. Captain Ben Carter stood on his bridge watching 3 more ships just like his appear from hyperspace. Each ship was sleek and powerful, with designs that looked both old and new at the same time. Captain Carter, said his first officer, Commander Kelly Brooks. She was a tall woman with short red hair and smart green eyes. The Constitution, Mayflower, and Yorktown are reporting ready for operations. Carter nodded. Good. Begin Phase 2 of the operation. Target all Empire monitoring stations in sectors 7 through 12. Remember, no one gets hurt, but those stations need to go offline. Yes, sir, Kelly said. She spoke into her headset to give orders to the other ships. Carter walked to the big window at the front of his bridge. He had been waiting for this moment, for 20 years. Ever since he was a young officer, he had known this day would come, the day when the colonial fleets would have to reveal themselves to protect human freedom. The first monitoring station was easy to find. It was a big metal structure floating in space, covered with sensors and communication equipment. The Empire used these stations to watch everything that happened in their territory. Constitution is in position, came a voice over the radio. Fire when ready, Carter ordered. A beam of blue light shot from the Constitution and hit the monitoring station. The station's lights went out, but it did not explode. The beam had only turned off its power systems, leaving the crew inside safe but unable to do their job. Station disabled, sir, Kelly reported. No casualties. Good. Move to the next target. 1 by 1, the 4 human ships attacked Empire monitoring stations across the outer rim of Empire space. Each attack was quick and clean. The stations were shut down but not destroyed. The crews were left alive but unable to call for help. Back on Centauri Prime, alarm bells were ringing in the Empire Command Center. Admiral Stone stood in front of a huge map showing all the attacks. Red lights blinked where stations had gone offline. How many ships do these humans have? She demanded. A young officer looked at his screen nervously. We don't know, Admiral. Our sensors can barely track them. Their ships seem to disappear and reappear wherever they want. Admiral Stone's crystal skin turned a darker shade of blue, which meant she was very angry. Find them! Send every available ship to hunt down these rebels. But the human ships were always one step ahead. By the time Empire forces arrived at an attack site, the mysterious vessels were already gone. It was like fighting ghosts. On Earth, in the hidden underground bunkers that most people did not know existed, old communication equipment crackled to life. Men and women who had been waiting for decades received coded messages. The time had come to reveal the truth. Captain Jake Murphy was still reading files with Tony when Amy Collins ran into the room. Her face was pale and she was breathing hard. Captain, you need to see this, she said. I've been monitoring all communication frequencies, and I'm picking up signals from Earth. Lots of them. Jake and Tony followed her back to the bridge. Amy played the recorded messages through the speakers. They heard voices speaking in code, talking about Operation Sunrise and Colony Fleet 7. There are hundreds of these messages, Amy said, all coming from different places on Earth. It's like there's a whole secret network down there that just woke up. Jake sat in his captain's chair and put his head in his hands. Everything he had believed about his own species was a lie. Humans were not the weak new members of the Empire that everyone thought they were. They had been playing a much bigger game all along. "Captain," Tony said quietly, "what are we going to do?" Jake looked up at his crew. These people trusted him to make the right choices. But how could he choose between the Empire that had given him a career and his own species that had been hiding the truth? Before he could answer, the ship's alarm began to sound. Amy's hands flew over her controls. "Captain, I'm reading massive hyperspace signatures," she said. "Something big is coming." Through the main window, they watched as space began to bend and twist. Slowly, the largest ship any of them had ever seen emerged from hyperspace. It was sleek and beautiful, painted white with blue stripes. On its side, in big letters, were the words, "New Horizon, Earth Colonial Defense Force." Jake knew that everything was about to change again. The real fleet was here. The massive ship New Horizon hung in space like a floating city. It was 3 times bigger than any Empire warship. Captain Jake Murphy stared at it through his bridge window, feeling small and confused. This ship was more advanced than anything he had ever seen. "Captain," Amy Collins said from her station, "we're getting a message from the New Horizon." The main screen flickered and showed a man in a blue uniform. He had gray hair and kind eyes, but his face was serious. Behind him, Jake could see a bridge that looked like something from the future. "This is Admiral Steve Mitchell of the Earth Colonial Defense Force," the man said. "Captain Murphy, I believe we need to talk." Jake stood up slowly. "Admiral Mitchell, I'm Captain Jake Murphy of the Empire ship Sovereign's Pride. Sir, I have to ask, how long have you been out there?" Admiral Mitchell smiled sadly. "Longer than you know, Captain. We've been watching and waiting for 80 years. Your ship has humans on it, doesn't it?" "Yes, sir. About 60% of my crew is human." "Then, you should know the truth," Mitchell said. "Captain, would you and your senior officers like to come aboard my ship? There are things you need to see." Jake looked around at his crew. Amy and Tony were nodding. Even his alien officers looked curious. This was the biggest discovery in galactic history, and they were right in the middle of it. "We'll come aboard, Admiral." An hour later, Jake and his officers sat in a comfortable room on the New Horizon. The walls showed pictures of Earth and other planets that Jake did not recognize. Admiral Mitchell sat across from them with Captain Carter and Commander Brooks. "The story begins 90 years ago," Mitchell said. "Earth's scientists discovered faster-than-light travel much earlier than the Empire knows. We also discovered that we were not alone in the galaxy." Tony Rivera leaned forward. "You knew about aliens before first contact?" "We did," Carter said. "Our early scout ships found evidence of the Galactic Empire. We learned that they had a habit of conquering primitive worlds and making the people into second-class citizens." Mitchell continued the story. "Earth's leaders made a hard choice. We would send most of our population and our best technology away in colony ships. The people who stayed behind would pretend to be primitive when the Empire arrived." Jake felt sick to his stomach. "You mean the whole first contact story was fake?" "Not fake," Mitchell said. "The people who met the Empire really did not have advanced technology. We made sure of that. But meanwhile, millions of humans were building new worlds far from Empire space." Amy spoke up. "But why? Why hide for so long?" Commander Brooks answered. "Because we were waiting for the right moment. We needed to build up our strength, study Empire technology, and prepare our people. We knew that someday the Empire would push too hard, and we would have to fight for human freedom." As they talked, things were happening all over the galaxy. On the human world of New Terra, a man named Chris Walker was meeting with other human leaders in secret. Chris was a civil engineer who had built most of the city's power systems, but he was also something else, a sleeper agent for the Colonial Defense Force. "The signal has been sent," Chris told the group. "Operation Freedom begins now." Around the table sat other humans who had been living normal lives as Empire citizens. There was Dr. Sarah Kim, who ran the hospital. There was pilot Matt Brown, who flew cargo ships. There was teacher Linda White, who worked at the human school. Kelm of them had been waiting for this moment. "Are we really going to do this?" Linda asked. "Fight the Empire?" Chris nodded. We have weapons hidden all over the city. Ships are coming to help us. In 2 hours, we take control of New Terra's defense systems. The same scene was happening on 12 other worlds where humans lived. For 50 years, sleeper agents had been moving into important positions. They had hidden weapons, built secret communication networks, and prepared for the day when they would reveal themselves. Back on the Sovereign's Pride, things were getting tense. Half of Jake's crew had gone to the New Horizon for the meeting. The other half was left to guard the ship under the command of Lieutenant Dan Price, the chief engineer. Dan was a quiet man who had served on Empire ships for 20 years. But today he was walking through the ship talking to other human crew members in private. "The time has come," he told Sergeant Lucy Hayes in the engine room. "We have to choose between the Empire and our own people." Lucy looked worried. "Dan, this is treason. If we're caught, they'll execute us. If we don't act, our people will never be free," Dan replied. "I've got word that Colonial Defense Force ships are coming to help, but we need to take control of this ship first." The plan was simple but dangerous. At exactly 1400 hours, all the human crew members would take over their stations. The alien crew members would be locked in their quarters, unharmed but unable to stop the mutiny. When the time came, Dan stood on the bridge and looked at the few alien officers who were still there. "I'm sorry," he said, "but this ship now belongs to the Earth Colonial Defense Force." The alien officers were too surprised to fight back. Within minutes, the humans had control of the entire ship. Dan sent a message to Admiral Mitchell on the New Horizon. "Admiral, this is Lieutenant Dan Price. The Sovereign's Pride is now under human control." Meanwhile, Admiral Stone was trying to keep the Empire from falling apart. Reports were coming in from all over about human rebellions. Ships were being taken over by their own crews. Planets were declaring independence. The Empire's military was in chaos. "How many ships have we lost?" Stone demanded. 17 so far," reported a nervous officer. "All of them had mostly human crews. The humans are turning on us everywhere." Stone's crystal skin was now dark purple with rage. "Send messages to all remaining loyal ships. Any human crew members are to be arrested immediately." But it was too late. The humans had been planning this for too long. As soon as Stone's order went out, more ships rebelled. Human crew members who had seemed loyal for years suddenly showed their true colors. On New Terra, Chris Walker stood in the planet's main control room. Around him, his team worked at computers and communication systems. Through the windows, he could see Empire patrol ships trying to land in the city. "Activate the defense grid," Chris ordered. Weapons that the Empire did not know existed rose from hidden places all over the planet. Powerful energy beams shot into space, disabling the Empire ships without destroying them. The patrol ships fell back, their crews surprised and confused. "This is Chris Walker, speaking for the free world of New Terra," he broadcast to the galaxy. "We reject Empire rule and claim our independence. Any Empire forces that try to land on our world will be met with force." Similar messages came from other human worlds. The rebellion was spreading faster than the Empire could respond. Back on the New Horizon, Admiral Mitchell stood with Captain Jake Murphy on the observation deck. They watched as more Colonial Defense Force ships arrived from hyperspace. There were dozens of them now, all with names from Earth's history. "Captain Murphy," Mitchell said, "your Empire is about to learn what happens when you underestimate humanity. We've been patient for 50 years, but our patience is over." Jake looked at the growing fleet and felt the galaxy changing around him. The Empire that had ruled for 1,000 years was about to face its greatest challenge. And it was coming. From the species they had thought was weak and harmless, the sleeping giant had finally awakened, and nothing would ever be the same. The Galactic Empire was breaking apart. On Centauri Prime, the capital world, emergency meetings went on day and night. Some alien species wanted to fight the humans to the death. Others thought it was time to make peace. The council chamber was full of angry voices and fear. Counselor Lisa Martinez found herself in the middle of it all. Even though she had not known about the secret human colonies, many aliens blamed her for the rebellion. Some wanted to arrest all humans in Empire space. Others wanted to make deals. We should have killed them all when we first found their dirty, little planet, growled General Krex, a war-loving draconian with sharp teeth and red scales. Now look what happens when we show mercy to primitive species. The humans are not primitive, said Ambassador Yala, a peaceful Altarian with blue skin and large eyes. They have been smarter than all of us. Maybe we should listen to what they want. High Chancellor Vex raised one of his forearms for silence. The question is simple. Do we fight a war that could destroy the galaxy, or do we find another way? Before anyone could answer, alarms began ringing throughout the capital city. Through the tall crystal windows, they could see Empire warships falling from the sky. Their engines were dead, and they crashed into the ocean far from the city. What is happening? Vex demanded. A young officer ran into the room, his face pale, with fear. High Chancellor, there are human ships all around the planet. They have disabled our entire defense fleet without firing a shot. Captain Jake Murphy stood on the bridge of his ship, which was now flying alongside the massive Colonial Defense Force fleet. Admiral Mitchell had invited him to watch as human ships surrounded the Empire capital. Jake felt strange fighting against the government he had served for so many years, but he knew it was the right thing to do. Admiral, came Captain Carter's voice over the radio. All Empire ships in this system are disabled. No casualties reported. Good work, Ben, Mitchell replied. Open a channel to the High Chancellor. The main screen showed the Crystal Council, chamber where all the alien leaders sat. High Chancellor Vex looked older and more tired than Jake had ever seen him. High Chancellor, Admiral Mitchell said calmly. I am Admiral Steve Mitchell of the Earth Colonial Defense Force. I think it's time we had an honest conversation. Vex's forearms shook with anger. You attack our capital and then want to talk? This is an act of war. We have not attacked anyone, Mitchell replied. Your ships are disabled, not destroyed. Your crews are safe. We are here to discuss the future of human-empire relations. There will be no future, General Krex snarled. We will hunt down every human in the galaxy. Mitchell's expression grew cold. General, you are welcome to try. But I should tell you that we now have over 300 ships in your space, and this is just the beginning. Our colonies have been building for 80 years. How many ships do you think we really have? The question hung in the air like a dark cloud. No one in the Empire knew how strong the human colonies really were. They had been completely fooled for 50 years. But before anyone could answer, something much worse happened. Space itself began to tear apart near the edge of the star system. A black hole that should not exist opened up, and from it came ships that looked like they were made of living darkness. By the ancient gods, whispered Ambassador Yala, the Void Swarm has returned. Jake felt his blood turn to ice. Every child in the galaxy knew stories about the Void Swarm. They were an ancient enemy that had nearly destroyed all life in the galaxy 1,000 years ago. The Empire had been created to fight them, but everyone thought they were gone forever. The dark ships moved like a disease through space. Everything they touched died. Stars went out, planets turned to dust, and they were heading straight for Centauri Prime. Admiral Mitchell, High Chancellor Vex said, his voice shaking. We must put aside our differences. The Void Swarm will destroy us all. Admiral Mitchell looked at the approaching darkness on his screen. How many ships can the Empire put together? Maybe 200 that are still working, Admiral Stone replied from her command ship. But they are scattered across the galaxy. We cannot get them here in time. We have 90 ships here right now, Mitchell said. It will have to be enough. Jake watched as something amazing happened. Human ships and Empire ships began working together. The same vessels that had been enemies an hour ago were now allies against a threat that could end all life in the galaxy. Captain Carter's voice came over the fleet communication system. All ships, this is tactical command. Human vessels will take point positions. Our quantum disruption weapons seem to work better against void technology. Empire ships provide cover and support. The battle began as the first void ships reached the outer planets of the system. The dark vessels moved like liquid shadow, changing shape as they flew. Empire weapons barely scratched them, but the human ships were different. Blue beams of light, shot from the Colonial Defense Force vessels. Wherever the beams hit, the void ships stopped moving and began to break apart. It was like watching ice melt in hot water. "How are they doing that?" Admiral Stone asked over the radio. "Quantum disruption technology," Admiral Mitchell explained as his ship fired its main weapon. "We learned about it from studying void artifacts we found in deep space. We've been preparing for their return." Jake realized that the humans had been getting ready for more than just fighting the Empire. They had been preparing to defend the entire galaxy from its greatest enemy. The battle raged for hours. Void ships kept coming through the dark portal, but the combined human and Empire fleet held them back. Human technology was the key, but Empire ships provided the numbers and firepower needed to win. Finally, Captain Carter's ship, the Liberty Bell, flew straight into the portal itself. Jake watched in horror, thinking Carter was going to die, but instead a massive explosion of blue light closed the portal forever. The Liberty Bell emerged damaged but whole, and the void threat was forcing in the quiet after the battle. Admiral Mitchell and High Chancellor Vex met face to face on the new horizon. The two leaders sat across from each other, both tired from the fight. "Your people saved us all," Vex said quietly. "If the humans had not been here, the galaxy would be dead." "We did what was necessary," Mitchell replied. "But this changes things between us. Humanity will no longer live under Empire rule." After 3 days of talks, they signed the Terran Independence Accords. Humanity would leave the Empire but remain friends and trading partners. The Colonial Defense Force would help protect the galaxy from outside threats, and humans would be treated as equals, not subjects. Captain Jake Murphy was promoted to admiral and became the first human ambassador to the new Galactic Confederation. The Empire was reformed into a partnership of equal species instead of rulers and servants. Captain Carter returned to the colonial territories as a hero. His ship, the Liberty Bell, became a symbol of human courage and independence. Schools were named after him, and children learned about the day humans stood up for their freedom. 1 year later, Admiral Murphy stood on the observation deck of a new space station built jointly by humans and aliens. Through the window, he could see young people from a dozen different species working together, learning from each other. The galaxy was at peace, but it was a different kind of peace than before. It was peace between equals, not between masters and servants. And everyone knew that if the darkness ever returned, they would face it together. The sleeping giant had awakened, and in doing so, it had awakened something better in everyone else, too. The galaxy had learned that strength came not from ruling others, but from standing together as partners and friends.